podcast, Knit the Sundown podcast. It's been a long time since I've done one. I think the last one I posted was 3 weeks ago, and even that was recorded even earlier. So when I look at everything that I've been up to since then, there's really a lot to go over. I've been thinking a lot about the format of this podcast. No doubt that I want to continue doing it, but I found the editing process long, and sometimes that discourages me from getting it up straight away, or it takes a long time to edit because there's not a lot of storage on my computer and whatever. So I've been really motivated lately by watching more podcasts and getting more into it, and I just want this to be a fun, relaxed thing to do, and so I'm going to take a little bit more of a relaxed approach to how I do it. My aim is just to free talk and not even need any editing. Obviously I'll put my nice little theme tune in there, and I'll scatter some pictures here and there if the project I'm talking about needs it, but by and large I don't want to be jumping around all the time and making lots of cuts. So that requires a lot of confidence, the whole one take mentality, but we'll go for it. Let's see what happens. My podcasts have also been very short. I've been doing about 15 minutes, if that, and I'd like to spend more time making content for this podcast, as in talking more about what I'm doing and planning it out beforehand so that I don't forget things, because every time I record a podcast I come back and I think I forgot that and that and that. So if I put that time in beforehand rather than spending a lot of time on the editing room floor, I think I'm going to be happier with the result, and I hope that it'll be more interesting to watch as well. So with that in mind, I wanted to talk a little bit about the podcasts that have been inspiring me lately. I've discovered a few, obviously some very well-known ones, but also my bosses, my hashtag lady bosses at Espace Tricot, the yarn store in Montreal where I work on Saturdays. They are called Melissa and Lisa, and they are two wonderful, brilliant women who have built a really super business, a great community space, and a fantastic resource, as well as a brilliant shop with a brilliant selection of items. So they together have started doing a podcast, which I'm really excited about. They had a wonderful first episode. If you search YouTube for Espace Tricot, you'll find it. I will write that in the comments below with the show notes. It is French for knitting space, or knit space. And interestingly, when you do search on YouTube for Espace Tricot, not only do you find their first podcast, but you also find a little tour of the first iteration of the store, which was across the landing of the building where it currently is, and I hadn't seen that before, so that was really fun to see. That was years ago that it was there. I was in Montreal, I just didn't know about the store at the time. So they talk a little bit about the history of that and how they got to know each other and build this business, which is inspiring to hear. Despite them owning the business, unfortunately with my schedule, I only get there on Saturdays, and I haven't spent as much time with them as I would like, and especially since Melissa lives in the States, and we email a lot and we're in contact, but it just was really fun to get to know them through their podcast, and learn more about them. It felt like I was really getting to know these people that I already knew, and a lot of our customers and our friends at the store have been saying the same thing. So if you know of Espace Tricot, do take the time to watch this podcast and get to know them. And if you don't know Espace Tricot, check it out, because their web store is phenomenal, and they do, I could maybe even say since I work there, but they make some brilliant, lovely free patterns on their Ravelry page. They have fantastic projects that are really inspiring. For if you're wondering about yarn substitutions, they do a lot of projects that are very sort of, Ravelry hot right now section. We've recently done the Om shawl by Drea Renee Knits, and the Endless Wrap by Woolstock Fibers, and both of those have been popular on Ravelry lately. A lot of Stephen West patterns, a lot of Joji Locatelli patterns. So if you're looking for inspiration for those kinds of projects or yarn substitutions for those kind of projects, this Our Stores Ravelry page is also a really good place to go for that. Promotion over, I suppose. I'm honestly just saying that because I believe in it so much. I was using them as a resource for inspiration and patterns long before I even worked there, which was just a dream to come true, and I'm loving it there. And so I'll talk about it any chance I get. And basically, when I'm making projects, the yarns I have, they're basically all from there. So moving on in that vein, I guess I can talk about projects now. I'm referring to my little notes here to make sure I don't forget anything. And I guess I'll start with some works in progress. I'll only show you 2 now because a lot of them are Christmas projects for people who may end up watching this. But this is a Christmas project for someone who definitely won't see this at all. For Secret Santa, I got my boss, not only my supervisor, but the big boss man of the entire company, the senior attorney at the firm where I work. Great guy. Well, I was thinking of making him a hat anyway, and then when his name came up as my Secret Santa, I thought, well, there you go. That's easy enough. So I'm making the antler hat by Tin Can Knits. It's a free pattern. I am on the 7th of 9 cable repeats before the decreases, so it's moving along quite quickly. It will be intended to fold over, I reckon. So it's quite a close fitting hat. I think it would look lovely slouchy as well, but I've knit it before for a guy, and it looked great close fitting. This is Rowan hemp tweed, which is hemp and wool, really warm, slightly rougher than a wool tweed would be, but I know natural fibres soften up a lot when washed. Hemp, I imagine, is one of those, similar to linen. So I'm going to give this a wash. It's also perhaps slightly small or tighter on a larger head size. I did make the largest size, 104 stitches I think I cast on, but I sized down a needle because I often knit loose, but I think my tension has been tightening up lately, probably from knitting socks, because this is not as loose as I would have expected. For 104 stitches on 4.5mm needles, I would have expected it to be a lot bigger. So I think my tension is tightening up, which I don't mind because it's always it was such a struggle for me to find the right tension. I'd often size down a couple needle sizes or make a bunch of different swatches, or for one project I'm about to show you, I think I knit Sweet Georgia Superwash Worsted on 3.5 to get gauge. So anyway, I actually like this pattern a lot myself. See, this is a good size for me, so it does need to go up a bit. Rowan tends to grow a lot, I'm counting on that. This is the colour Pine. It's a lovely grey-green. As I'm seeing it on my screen now, that's actually a very true representation of it. So I'm just humming along with that. I think he'll like it. I hope he'll like it. Well, you can pretend it doesn't even matter if he doesn't wear it. I put the effort in, and I have one other work in progress that is a total selfish cast on. I've been knitting a lot lately for Christmas, for a local shop where I'm about to stock some hats, some cozy, simple brioche hats. I whipped up a pattern for that, and so those will be in store hopefully before Christmas. I'm making a few. I've got a little pile growing, and I need to make a black one. We're going to have grey and pink, pale pink and black, so I've got to work on that. But between those hats and Christmas knitting, I just felt one night like I just want something for myself. I'm going to cast on something for myself. And I'd had this in mind for a long time. I had the yarn for a few weeks now, and I've wanted to do the pattern for a lot longer than that. I've started a Vertices Unite shawl by Stephen West. I started out doing the large pattern, and I got quite far with it, up to about 20 rows off of the first section, the end of the first section, and I realized it was just getting so enormous, and I hadn't checked my gauge because it's a shawl, but I was using the needle from the pattern, 3.5 millimeter, and instead of 24 stitches per inch I have 17, so it is much bigger than planned, and it was just taking a really long time. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just switch to the instructions for the smaller shawl version, which ends up a bit more like a kerchief, but I knew that if I continued with it being this big, it would be more than a schlanket, it would be a blanket. The large version from the photos is about as large as I want it to be. I wouldn't want it bigger than that to be wearing it practically, so I thought I'll just size down. I probably wouldn't have been in danger of running out of yarn because I'm not doing it with scraps, but anyway. So this will be completed more quickly, I reckon, which is nice, and hopefully will be a good size. If it's a sort of shawl, it's a beautiful architectural shawl. You know what? You can also just watch Espace Tricot's podcast for a great review of this pattern, because Lisa is currently knitting it in Woolfolk Far and is wearing it in that podcast. So they talk about this pattern too, and it's fun to listen to. I'm loving it just as much. I'm on the first section now, and it's a really architectural shawl. It's all about, it's modular. You do section by section, picking up stitches in interesting ways. So if I do decide that it's not quite big enough at the end, I think I may just pick up stitches along one whole end of it and extend it by another section. Why not? So this is section 1, which is a 2x2 stripe. Oh, I'm showing you the wrong side. Here's the right side. So this is Tosh Merino Light in Betty Draper's Blues, held double with Shibui Pebble in a blue colour. I forget. I will have all of these colours up on my project page for it when I start building the project page. Pebble is gorgeous. This one in particular is quite tweedy. Some of them are more solid, but this is mostly navy with hints of teal and cream running through it. So I'm trying to get you some good light there. I've got all the light coming in from one side on this window, and it's a gorgeous, bright, wintry day. So I find it quite flattering, but it's not the greatest for seeing the colours. There is a little easier to see the flecks of white running through it. So that's just beautiful. And this is a massive ball of Tosh Merino Light. Can you tell? Not having a Swift is getting really tiring for me. I started this on my winder, and then it just became a big mess around the chair, so I had to finish it by hand. Very tiring. Betty Draper's Blues, super cute colour. I have been rewatching Mad Men, so it seems rather appropriate. And so what are the other colours for this that I'm using? It is a 4 or 5 colour pattern. Notes. 5 colour pattern. That's right. So my other colours are, so Betty Draper's Blues and Pebble, that's 2. Oh, I dropped it. The third colour is, I haven't decided yet. I'll probably hold these double all the way through. This is a lace that I picked up. I think I showed it in my last podcast because I got it in England. It is silk and Blueface Leicester blend. I think 80% Blueface Leicester, 20% silk. It didn't have a brand name on it. It just had a beautiful little handwritten label. I got it at the knitting studio. Oh gosh, I can't even remember if that's actually the name. Knit Studio in Newcastle. An adorable little independent yarn store upstairs in an old monastery, Priory Monastery. So this is Shibui Silk Cloud in colour ash, and it's just heavenly lace weight. So these held double will create a gorgeous little mohair effect. Oh, A little kitty coming to investigate. What's she up to? There she is. Ooh. Haha, you wanna come over here? Come over here. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, put that away. Oh, put that away. So these two held double will probably get up to about light fingering, and pebble is a light fingering too. Oh, climbing over it? Oh, okay, there you go. So this is actually coming out to be quite a light shawl with a lot of drape. But I love the texture of the pebble and the Tosh Merino light together, and I think this will be beautiful too, held double. If I find that it's too light, I have enough of this lace weight that I may hold it double and then add the silk cloud to give it a bit more weight. That would be closer to a standard fingering weight. And then the last two colours I have are more Tosh Merino light. I just fell in love with this combination at the store. It just really spoke to me. Sometimes you just have a lightning flash, coup de coeur, fall in love with it, and these three were that for me. I just saw them one day. This is Yoko, and this is Leaf. And Yoko has pretty much exactly the same shades of blue running through it, so there's some good continuity there. I think there's another stripe section where, according to the pattern, I would hold together this blue with the lace and silk cloud, but I'm actually thinking I may switch it up and see how it looks holding these two together, because there's such a good continuity between them. And then in another section I'll hold the leaf together with these two. So I'm really excited for that. It's very much brighter in colour than most of the shawls I've knit so far. I've been wearing a lot lately the Open Sky shawl by Drea Renee Knits that I made last year. It was my project on the 12-hour train ride to New York when I went in October last year, and I knit that in Manos del Uruguay Fino, maybe, in the colour Clara. And I love it. It's a very neutral grey with pink running through it. And then I have my Exploration Station shawl, which I wear a lot, and that I think I've shown before is a sort of grey-green, grey, pale pink palette. So I think this is going to be so much fun in winter to just have something wildly bright. Plus, I love green and pink and grey together, and I think it'll go well with my hat that I just made yesterday in front of the TV, because I realised all of my hats are finer weight. So I made this one from Cocoon, and I love the pale pink. It's a little bit snug, which I like to keep the heat in, but I think I'll block it. I think it needs to be a little bit bigger, or maybe I'll just wear it until it stretches out. But at the moment, after a few minutes, it sort of starts to feel like my head's in a vice. But it's really warm. I love this with the mohair in it. And another hat I've done, which was an exciting first for me, basically did this pattern myself, designed it myself rather. This is a nice slouchy hat. It's quite big on me. I cast on 96 stitches on 4mm needles, and it's actually a bit big. Oh, it's cute when I roll the brim. I haven't done that before. It's a twisted rib brim, and then simple garter stripes up to the top, and then I did a different decrease. I haven't seen this decrease before, but I liked how it looked. It's sort of like a combination between slip knit and knit through the back loop. Oh, my nail polish is chipped. Basically, you slip one stitch from the left needle to the right needle and slip it back to the left needle, but twisting it so that it's mounted the other way. And then you knit that and the next stitch together through the back loop. So it just looks slightly different from a knit through the back loop. I put a little pom-pom on. Didn't buy these together. This is Woolfolk tinned. No, Far, the worsted weight, which is just gloriously soft. And this pom-pom I got in England, and it just like magically is the same colour. I love it. But it's almost too cold to wear this one. I was out in it today and it wasn't really quite cutting the mustard. So a warmer hat was in order. So where am I now? That's about all I'm going to say for my whips. And my finished objects, aside from that hat, what was I going to tell you about? Oh, I was going to tell you about a shawl that I don't even have with me. So excuse me for one moment while I go dig that out. Handbrake over. So this is what I did with my skein, my very special souvenir skein from England of fibre spades, which I put a lot on Instagram because it was so photogenic. A beautiful colour palette that I don't usually knit with. Similar, I guess, to what I'm wearing, but more browner. It smells good. So this is my own design that I've made. I'm in the midst of writing it up, and I might put it out for testing in January because everyone's so busy now. I'd really like to publish patterns in 2017. When I was talking about the Espace Tricot podcast with my colleague Amalia, she's like my number one fan for this podcast. I love it. She's always so supportive. She was saying, talk about your New Year's resolutions. So that's one of mine. I'll come back to that at the end. One of mine is to publish patterns. So this is a very simple triangle, regular standard triangle with some garter stripes, and then a knitted on border of, this is tinned woolfolk in black. Really soft, this one. This provides the warmth when I have it on. Uh-oh, got a little text. That's what that ding is. So this is just very simple. I love how the two colours play together once you got it on. That contrast is really nice. I love the variegated and the solid together. So I think that I should have worn a more neutral sweater because this is looking like I would never wear these together. I made this sweater last year. Tanis Fibre Arts Green Label Aran, which knits up much more like a worsted. So this is the flax pattern by Tin Can Knits, and I basically just had 5 skeins of this, and I just basically kept on knitting, so it's really long. There it is. So it's my sweater dress. It's the coziest thing ever. It's perfect for a Sunday afternoon lounging around the house. The colours, it's less orange than it looks in this. That orange is more of a brown. But the pooling is great. It barely pools at all. A little bit here, but I don't really mind. This is a colour Iris. I love it. So that shawl, yeah, I'll be putting it out for test knitters, I hope. After Christmas, maybe I'll have a little knit along with the podcast. Because, dream big. I've been wearing that one a lot with my winter coat, which is navy. Oh, I just love these colours together. It looks different in every light. This looks like a sort of autumnal forest floor. Sometimes it looks like a big pile of jewels. Big fan of that yarn. And a couple things I'll talk about. Knitting resolutions. My main resolution for 2017, it will be the year of the sock. I've decided I want to knit a pair of socks every month. Not the greatest ambition. I know a lot of people knit a lot more socks than that in a month, but with my schedule and all the other projects I like doing, recently I've just loved having a pair of socks always on the needles to go to because it's a great little travelling project. Oh, my cat just knocked over my notebook. They're always ready to pick up and knit a few rows, and you don't have to worry about and finishing up halfway through a row or anything like that. So this year I got completely converted to sock knitting. I was unsure in the beginning, but the first socks I ever knit were this year, and I really enjoyed it. So when I was watching Little Bobbin's Knits podcast, her latest one, she talked about her Christmas Eve cast on. Every year she casts on a pair of socks, and recently people have been joining her. And so in the lead up to Christmas Eve, she's having a little thread discussion board about people are discussing their patterns and the yarns they're going to use. So that's just a really sweet idea. By Christmas Eve, I hope to have obviously finished everything for other people and can cast on something for myself, or something that will be a later present, several birthdays in the early months of 2017. A little edit there for a phone call I received. Back to business. What had I been talking? I was talking about the Christmas Eve cast on, that's right. So I'd love to cast on a pair of socks on Christmas Eve. No question, gonna do it. I don't actually have that much sock yarn in my stash. I have a fair bit of fingering weight in skinny singles, and I have some leftovers. But one skein that I picked up a while ago, just because I loved the colour and wanted to grab it before it sold out, is this skein of hedgehog fibres sock in the colour Oracle. That's a pretty faithful representation of what it looks like. It's got these stunning fluorescent pink and greens running through it on a base of charcoal and cream that is just wild. But these sort of seem to me more New Year's socks. These were going to be my New Year's cast on, cheering up January. So I think I may see if I can find something more Christmassy for my Christmas Eve cast on. I've participated in Fibershare, and my package hasn't yet arrived. Unfortunately, it got returned to the sender. Thank goodness it didn't get lost. I can't wait for that to arrive. And so we'll see what's in there. Or I will hit up La Maison Tricotée, probably, for their lovely collection of local dyers that are not in stock at the shop where I work, which is really fun because all the shops in Montreal just have different stuff. So that's a really fun community. And another project I'm planning to cast on is more Christmas knitting. It's time probably for my grandmother if I have enough time. This is a leftover skein I have of superwash worsted from Sweet Georgia. Actually, I'll show you what it looks like knit up because I have the cardigan. The sun is setting already, it feels like, because the light's really not fantastic for this, but at a few angles you can see the lovely rust brown and let's see if I can change. Dark greens of this. And this is a worsted weight, and I think on a larger needle it would make a really cozy shawl. These are just exactly my grandmother's colours. She's a very elegant woman, and she's always wearing silk scarves, and I'll make her something warmer. And when it's knit up, I held it actually, I striped it with the colour, that's the colour Rogue, and I striped it with the colour Bison, which is a dark brown that basically also appears in Rogue, so that when it's striped you can't even really tell. So that's what it looks like. This is the back. I made this as a cardigan, a yoked cardigan from Knitbot Yoked book by Hannah Fettig. And I just find the neckline way too wide. I got gauge, and it's actually, I dropped it all over my cat. It's actually wider than it should be because I put these clasps on instead of buttons, so that gives it all that extra space here. Hello. If you do watch Little Bobbin's Knits, she is the Little Bobbins of cats. Oh, she's settling in. She's here for the little hole. Right down to the hole, putting a paw out to get your attention. So I think what I'm going to do with this, I've been wearing it around the house backwards because I love wearing cardigans backwards. Top couple buttons undone. I think it's like really elegant and sexy. I think what I'm going to do is take the clasps off. This doesn't have buttonholes, and just sew it together, and it'll have a nice seam down the back, and I can wear it the other way around as a sweater. And I think that'll be more practical. I'll save the clasps for something else because they're gorgeous. And I have a whole other pile of things I want to cast on, but I'm going to hold back on that for the next little while. My dad and my brother let me know that they're coming to Canada for Christmas, which is really exciting. They only got their tickets the other day. So I've already made plans for Christmas, but it does mean that I have to knit faster to make them socks. So I was planning to make them socks anyway, but now I'm not sure if I'll manage to get them done in time, so we'll see. Maybe for my dad at least, and my brother can have them for his birthday in March. Because I still have one Christmas sock to finish for himself, which I can show actually. Oh, no I can't, it's under my desk and I've got a cat on top of me, but here we go. I'm well on my way with the second. I might go on, I might take a trip out of the house later in the afternoon. This is my metro knitting. Yes, there it is. This is an Artfield Bell. I think I've shown this before. Maybe not, because I wouldn't have started them the last time I podcasted. It's the colour Camouflage. It's a gorgeous variegated grey. I'm not really using a pattern for this. It's a 72 stitch sock, and but I did the toe increases a bit differently. I cast on 16 because originally with my tension I thought I'd just do 60 for a man's sock, but with these Addy flip sticks and this yarn actually I'm getting a really good tight tension, which is perfect for socks. And so I did a 16 stitch Judy's Magic cast on, and then I increased every row 4 stitches every row to 36 stitches or 30, and then every other row to 72. So it's a slightly different toe increase. And then the pattern is just a waving rib. Knit 3, purl 1 for 5 rows, knit 1, purl 1, knit 2 for 5 rows, which is in a pattern somewhere else, and I saw someone had modified it on Instagram. Socks Therapist maybe had modified this pattern on Instagram to match up very nicely with a self-striping yarn she had, so that each wave of the rib was one colour of the stripe. So you can't really see it extremely well here, and it's just very nice and subtle when it's on. And I'm livening that up with some Koigu stripes, because also Artfield Bell is fantastic for socks, but it's only 387 yards of skein instead of what more standard 400-ish. So this guy has big feet. So we're going with Koigu. This is the KPPM Koigu Painter's Palette. I'm not sure what all the P's stand for. Merino. And there it is. This is the colour 830. So it actually turns out very Christmassy with all the reds and greens and isn't too crazy. So I've got that in my favourite buku pouch. This was a gift for my birthday from the store, which was so sweet of them. It goes in my buku box tote along with everything else that I have from buku, which I love. And, wait, one more exciting thing I forgot. I got business cards. I've been working with 2 wonderful women, Veronique and Laurence, who have opened up a leather shop and workshop on a street called Bernard in Montreal. It's called Bouquet. Their Instagram is Bouquet MTL. I'll put it in the notes. And they had these business cards from a company called Moo, and they were saying to me, oh, well, if we have your hats, please do. If you have business cards, if you have branding, you know, they're really supportive, wanting to help me show off there, really, which is lovely. And so I don't have business cards, but I got these. Hang on, there should be 5 designs. Yes, that's one. So I ordered these, and I just took some pictures off my Instagram. I was just playing around. They had a really good deal going on, and I got 100 business cards for $33, including shipping, which for the quality of these is fantastic. They're a lovely heavyweight card. So I just took some pictures off my Instagram. These are some gloves I made on my machine. Some button choices for a cardigan I will probably rip out. Some knitting on my machine. I just love the geometry of the needles. And this is a French can-can shawl I was knitting. And here's me at the beach wearing some socks. So these are my business cards, and here's the back. I love the vertical aspect. They're backwards for you, I know, but so these are just fun to have. I'm planning to use them as gift labels this Christmas because they've got some white space on them. Little hole punch, little ribbon, little with love. That'll be cute. So that is from @moo.com. I would recommend. It's super fun to have business cards, even if you don't have a business. Just show off a bit. And they come in a cute little box. I've got 2 of these to carry around. Very sleek. So that's basically everything I have for us today. Have I missed anything out? Oh, my dream. Last thing. I was going to talk about my dream. So, last night, I watched most of Little Bobbin's Knits podcast. I finished the rest, her latest, 56. I finished the rest this morning with my coffee. And she was talking about how she'd been putting it off for a long time, because it didn't seem like it would quite be her project, but she couldn't get it out of her mind. It looked so much fun. And she did a crochet scrappy sock blanket. So these have been going around. It seems to be the latest fad version, like the mitered square blanket, way of using up sock scraps. And I really love this idea because, like she was talking about in that episode, Danny, I'm a sentimental knitter. Yarns do pick up meaning for me. The shawl I designed with my souvenir skein from England is very special to me. For that reason, I was with 3 of my very best friends when I got it, in a shop that has just brought a lot of life to Oxford's creative art scene, Darn It and Stitch, and so that just has a lot of warm fuzzies for me. My Vertices Unite shawl is using another souvenir skein from that trip, the BFL lace, and I know that when I'm wearing that wherever I am in the world, I'll be thinking very fondly of my days working at Espace Tricot, with the Tosh Merino Light and the Pebble, and yarns just do pick that up for me. So I love the idea of doing these sock blankets because with little scraps from everything, I made socks and I have some left over from a skein I bought on my birthday trip to Ottawa, for example. And just like when they made patchwork blankets out of baby clothes, then you could remember all the years of your child growing up through these patchwork blankets. So I like the idea of a crochet blanket, a granny square stripe. And so Danny was talking about hers. Then overnight I had a dream. And I had a dream I was in the car, not driving, I can't drive. I was working on this blanket in the car and it was a good amount, about this much. Mostly pink, probably because I've been knitting that pink hat all night. And I suddenly realised I'd majorly goofed, and instead of crocheting the last few inches, I'd been knitting the last few inches. So I realised, like, no, I'm going to have to rip out like 5 inches of this because I forgot it was a crocheting blanket and I started knitting it. Which I woke up and I found that hilarious because the idea of accidentally knitting crochet. Bit of a yarn nerd moment there, but I'm sure you can all appreciate how impossible that would actually be in real life. So at least I'm in no danger of making that mistake in real life if I do start this crochet dream blanket. But I guess now I'll have to do it because I dreamed of it. So clearly there's a message there. However, I don't have all that many scraps left because over the summer I made a sweater with all my sock weight, fingering weight scraps. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be my Christmas project when I cast on in 2017 because I'll have all the scraps from the 12 pairs of socks that I'm going to knit next year. So I haven't yet. Oh no, I have knit a blanket. I knit a blanket for my sister for her birthday. Just more of a lap gown. It was 2 skeins of the Cascade Eco Plus, which are the big, they're 478 yards in a 250 gram skein, I think. So 2 of those goes a long way. Fantastic blanket weight, not machine washable, but That was just a really quick chevron afghan. So finally, that is about everything I have for you today. I've managed to natter on for a lot longer, and I feel like, aside from cutting out my private phone call, I won't make many edits, and I feel like this has pretty much gone the way I wanted it to, in terms of flow and just feeling good about what I'm saying, and got lots to talk about. So it's great how just, launching in and doing something, and you do it and it turns out well, and you've got your mojo back. So with that, I'm going to go defuzz myself from all this cat fur, and maybe head on out into the sunny afternoon, probably to a yarn store, or maybe just for a cup of tea. Oh, what was that? We're right by the door of the building, so we hear a lot of noises. And my voice is going. So thank you for joining me today for sitting through my random thought processes, and I hope you've enjoyed what I've had to show you. I'll try to fit in another podcast before Christmas, or maybe I'll do one while I'm casting on my sock on Christmas Eve. So take care, all of you, stay warm, and see you next time.